So in today's video, I am going to be talking about white collar boxing, more specifically about ultra white collar boxing, which is the organization I have done my white collar boxing fight with. So what I'm going to do is talk you through my experience, what it was like for me, and just try and convince you to actually sign up as well, because it is an amazing experience that I feel like everyone should do out there. And maybe if you're watching this video, you are considering to potentially sign up and try white collar boxing and have a boxing match, or just get into boxing in general. If that is you, then this video is going to be especially useful for you. So when it comes to white collar boxing, I have always wanted to do boxing. I'm a guy that was been a fan for a long time, always watching it, and I always thought it'd be really good to actually get into boxing and do a bit of boxing and actually do it firsthand, because I feel like I could probably learn a lot from this. But I guess I was always a little bit afraid and a little bit nervous, and I was like, well, I want to do this, but I never had the balls to do it. And before me, I had a friend who has actually done a white collar boxing match. He had the whole process, he went through it all. He raised money for charity, he had his fight, and he won his fight, and I saw that, and I thought, well, I could potentially sign up as well. So I kept saying it to my friends that I'm going to sign up at one point, and I remember it was actually in August 2022. I was in a night out with some friends, and we were just talking a bit of crap with each other, as you do on a night out. We started discussing boxing and white collar boxing, and as that happened, I was like, yeah, I'm going to sign up one time and I'm going to do it. And someone called me out and said, oh, you've always been saying this, but you're never going to follow up with it. You would all just talk. So the day after, I kept thinking about this, and I thought to myself, all right, let me just sign up and let me show my friends that I'm not full of crap and that I actually want to do this. And I signed up, and that's how my journey has started. But before I start, I might as well kind of explain what white collar boxing is. So ultra white collar boxing in this case is, well, essentially you have a boxing match in front of a couple of thousand people. You have your friends come and watch you, people dress up nicely, and you have a 3-round fight. But there's more components to it. So of course, one of them is raising money for charity. So with ultra white collar boxing, you raise money for Cancer Research UK, which is an amazing cause. In the same time, you have to sell 10 tickets, and these are the people that come and watch you. These are your friends and family. And these are people that are going to be supporting you while you are fighting. So it's an amazing experience. It's an opportunity for someone who hasn't done boxing before to have a proper boxing experience, because it pretty much is what that is. I mean, you are fighting in front of 2,000 people. It's as close as it gets to a proper experience, which I think is really, really awesome. So it's also a very good opportunity for you to become a better version of yourself, self-improve. I mean, for boxing, a lot of people are scared to do it. A lot of people, it's their fear. And because of this, when they sign up, they're able to become better versions of themselves. And this is exactly what happened with me as well. Before I started, I was obviously really scared, as I was saying, and I got into it, and I faced my fear, so-called, and I did it, and I learned so much from it. So I cannot recommend it enough. I feel like it's such a good cause, and it's such an amazing thing to get into. There are only positives to it. So as I was saying, I have signed up in August, and the way it works is you sign up to a newsletter, and the newsletter, you keep getting emails, and from this email you can log into the Facebook group. And from this Facebook group, you essentially just get a lot of information about the upcoming things that are happening towards your boxing match or boxing training. So we got announced that the boxing training starts early September. So we had a registration meeting on the Monday. I actually came back from holiday on the Sunday from Egypt, which is very, very good. And the day after, straight away, I had the registration meeting. The registration meeting is essentially when you get to meet the coaches, get to meet the people that you're going to be training with. They give you an information pack, and you get to ask questions. It's just an introduction to what to expect throughout this week. And also, as as I was saying, you meet the people that you're going to be training with. And basically, the opponent that you're going to be fighting is going to be from this group. They match you up against somebody from the same group that you're training with. So you end up sort of like looking at people, seeing, oh, maybe this guy's my way, I might end up fighting him. It's really early days, but you already start thinking about this kind of stuff. But it's a really good way to kind of get introduction to what it is like. And I really recommend for you to go to it as well. And basically the week after that is when the training itself actually starts. So with the white collar boxing, you get 8 weeks of free training, so-called. I mean, you pay for the training with the tickets that you sell. Each ticket in this case was £25. So if you sell 10, which is what you have to do at least, then that's £250. So you get £250 worth of training for this. And you have to raise also £50 for charity as well. So you basically get 2 training sessions a week. However, they also do tell you, which is very important, to train more than this, because it's not going to be enough for your fight. I mean, in hindsight, you might be thinking, well, 3 rounds, 2 minutes each round is easy. I mean, I'm maybe a person who is very good at cardio, who does running every week, who is very physically fit, goes to the gym, and you think, oh, that's going to be easy, but it's not like that. It's actually way harder than you think, especially if you haven't done any boxing before. It's a completely different sport to anything else. I mean, you might be thinking, just because you can run 10K, that doesn't mean that you're going to be good at this. It's a completely different experience that you have to prepare for in a very specific way, which is what this training is going to be for, and which is why you are going to have to put in a bit more work than just these 2 training sessions a week. So in my case, for example, we had a session on Monday and Thursdays. These were the official sessions. And apart from that, the boxing gym also did a couple of extra sessions. So I went to a session on Wednesday as well. So I normally train like 3 times a week. And apart from that, I did some work in the gym. I did some bag work, some cardio, some conditioning and basic stuff like that. And just basically trying to imitate what I have learned while being with the coaches on the official sessions. So this was another way I was trying to put a little bit of extra work and just get ahead of the curve as the training was progressing. So the way it works with the first few weeks, the first few weeks is you don't really get to do any punching. You barely put your gloves on. It's more just heavy cardio the first 1 or 2 weeks. In terms of cardio, those sessions are especially hard because they're trying to get rid of the people whose hearts are not really in it. The first session I remember was incredibly difficult because there's a lot of people in the gym and eventually a lot of people quit. And this first session gives people a reality check that, oh, this is actually way harder than what I thought. People might be going to the gym already, but when they do this, they're like, whoa, this is something completely different. And because of this, many people quit. So this was a very good way to kind of filter out the people who are deep down don't really want to do it. And this is exactly what happened. In the end, there was 50 of us fighting. And maybe we started with 80 people at the beginning. So a lot of people had dropped out as the training went along and progressed. But for many people out there, including myself, this was an amazing experience where I thought to myself, well, this is very difficult, which is another reason I should do it. It's a very good way to challenge myself and become a better version of myself. And I thought to myself, well, it's incredibly difficult, but I want to be proud of myself, so I want to keep going and I don't want to quit. So from week 2 onwards is when we started doing more, they call it technical sparring, is when you simulate some shots. So let's say you do jabs and you throw a jab and your opponent catches the jab. You do a 1-2 and your opponent catches, and etc, etc. So you practice the different shots and just make it a bit more realistic. So it's almost like proper sparring, but essentially you are just practicing the different shots that you're going to be throwing when you're actually sparring. So that's what we were preparing for, to be fair. And after that, from week 4 onwards is when we started doing sparring. So the first month you don't really do any sparring, and from week 4 onwards, which 4 weeks out of the fight, you start punching each other and you start doing some proper sparring when you're trying to take each other's heads off, essentially. Most people out there are beginners when it comes to white collar boxing, so it is something that is very scary for a lot of people, including myself. I've never done any sparring before stepping in the ring. I remember the first time I have done it, I went into the ring, I was shaking, just putting my gum shield and I was really scared. When I got in there, the nerves kind of gone away because of the adrenaline, and I did okay in the end, and I felt amazing afterwards because it's just a form of facing my fears. And if you're a person who's depressed or sad, it's a very good way to get rid of this, because if you're facing your face and you're challenging yourself and you become proud of yourself, it's a very good way to get rid of that depression and become a happy person. Also, just confidence in general is such a big thing. It's so big. So just by sparring, for example, you get to get rid of this and you get to be proud of yourself because you do something challenging that most people are scared to do. But yeah, we had this from week 4 onwards, and we had it week 4, week 5, week 6, 7. And all of these sessions we did some sparring, whether that was in the gym or in the actual ring itself, we did. The coaches in the same time were kind of monitoring people and seeing who they could match people up with. And this is when it gets real. Even before, if you're really good with the cardio, you find it a good challenge, this is completely different. It's more just emotionally difficult to get in there. You have to get in there. And I thought to myself, I can't quit. I have to do it. And this is one way to improve. And this is a very good way to become a better version of yourself, because you are challenging yourself to an extent. You are jumping literally into the deep water because you are scared to do this, but you're doing it anyway. But yeah, that's what we had in terms of sparring. And week 8 is when we had the matchups itself. So week 8, there's a session on Monday, which is the last session that we have. And this session, we don't do sparring anymore because they don't want anyone to get injured a week before the fight. If someone gets injured 4 weeks before the fight, then they have time to recover. But if it's a week before, then perhaps there's a good chance that they will not be able to compete, which means that someone's not going to have an opponent, so they don't want you to get injured. And the Thursday, which is the last session, is the matchups itself. So this is when you have a face-up with your opponent. They call out your name and you get to face off with your opponent in front of a cancer research board. And for me, the matchups itself were almost more scary than the fight itself, because when you're in the gym training, then you spar against a couple of people and you think to yourself, all right, maybe I'll be matched up against this guy. Well, this guy's really good. Maybe he could beat me up. Or this guy could beat this guy. I'm not really sure. You start to have these thoughts. So it's like almost you can't put a face to the devil, which makes it a bit more scary. And for me, this was the uncertainty is almost what made it really, really stressful for me. I felt to myself, if I knew my opponent, it would be way easier because at least I'll be able to prepare for him. But because you find out your opponent literally 3 days before the fight, I was very like nervous and anxious about it. In the end, we got matched up though. And after the matchups, it's a Thursday. After that, everything is said and done. And the only thing that remains is the fight itself, which is Saturday, which is one of the most amazing things out there. It is an experience that you're never ever going to forget. So our fight on Saturday was in a leisure center, so we had to turn up a little bit earlier. So you do your medical, make sure you are able to fight. And for this medical, they do recommend for you not to drink any caffeine like Red Bull and stuff, because then maybe your blood pressure is going to be too high and you might fail your medical. So we had this medical, and then after the medical, they announced the order of the fights, and then your friends start to turn up. They all wear suits, and then both of the teams go out. And it's like an introduction and people clap, and it's just a cool way to introduce the two teams because there's two corners, there's the red and the blue corner. I was in the blue corner, and after that you go back to your dressing room and the show just starts. For me, I was actually the 8th person to fight. There was 25 fights in total. I thought to myself, I don't want to be the first one because at least I want to see what it's like from the outside, just to see what to expect. But in the same time, I don't want to be the last one because I felt like it would be kind of torture to having to wait that long for my turn to be able to fight. So I thought 8th is actually perfect because I get to see a couple of fights and I don't have to wait long for mine. So the way it was is we had to go into the dressing room, to the warm-up room 3 fights before my fight. And there's a coach you get to hit pads with. So essentially this is your warm-up, and 1 or 2 fights before yours, they call you out to the tunnel. At the tunnel, your walkout music starts to play, and you walk out there. It was quite strange actually. I mean, when I remember walking out there, before I was really nervous, but when I was walking, I was so focused. I already felt the adrenaline, so I didn't even notice people around me, so it was so strange. I feel like the adrenaline kind of just takes over you, especially if you haven't done any boxing before, like myself. And also, I forgot to say that you do get to pick your walkout music as well. So when your walkout music starts to play, then the coaches give you the green light and you can start walking. And that's when it gets really real because you are walking into the ring and you are going to be facing somebody else one-on-one, no one there to save you, which really is just the purest form of competition. I mean, you can play basketball, you can play football, you are playing a good sport, but in the same time, when it comes to boxing, it's the purest form of competition. You are going up against one-on-one against another human being. It's something that I think everyone should experience. I know it's a very stressful, nerve-wracking thing to do, but that is the reason it's so beneficial, and that is the reason I really, really recommend it for everybody to at least try it once. So I walked in there, had my fight, I won my fight. I'm not going to talk about that too much because the next video is going to be me reacting to that fight. So I'm pretty new to boxing, so I won't be able to give you a very in-depth analysis, but I will try my best. So that's what this next video is going to be. But after the fight itself, I couldn't wait to leave the ring and go and see my friends. I mean, all that pressure lifted up my shoulders. And I remember just having the best night ever. It's something that I'll never ever forget. With the fight itself, they give you a little statue, the ultra white collar boxing statue, which you get to keep forever. It's something that will, I guess you can remember this event with. Not that you need it anyway, because it's something that you can feel like it's possible to forget. You also get to keep the vest that you are fighting in. I was in the blue corner, so I still have that, and I'm still going to keep that for the rest of my life. It's very, very cool. But yeah, if you're a person who is kind of drifting in life, you don't have any plans, you feel like you're plateaued, you don't feel very happy with yourself at this moment in time, then signing up to this is one of the most amazing things out there. I really, really recommend it. It's a very good way to reinvent yourself and move out your comfort zone. So what I'm going to say, don't take my word for it, just sign up because you're going to see so many benefits from it. So even things that you wouldn't expect. I mean, you learn things that you'll be able to transform to other areas of your life. I mean, you can get more stoic, more resilient. Perhaps maybe you get nervous at work. Maybe you get nervous at presentations at university or at work as well. It's a way of being like, well, I go to boxing in the evenings and I get punched in the face, so why would something like a presentation or a very tough situation at work or university face me? So it's a way of becoming tougher. And I do feel like this is something that everybody should do at least once in their life because it is literally the purest form of competition. And there are not many things out there that will help you to learn as much as you can from this specific thing. Fighting against somebody one-on-one in a boxing ring when nobody's actually there to save you. But that's what it was for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If before this video you were considering signing up to white collar boxing, then I hope I convinced you because it is something that it will help you to become a better version of yourself, and it's a very good way to challenge yourself. But anyway, as I was saying, the next video is going to be me reacting to that fight, so watch out for that one. And apart from that, if you like content to do with self-improvement, I talk about different things like going to the gym, working out, sports like this one, for example, boxing or even football, traveling for self-improvement, or just general self-improvement, like becoming a better version of yourself, then consider also subscribing to the YouTube channel. And as I was saying, watch out for the next video, which is going to be me just reacting to this fight.